When 10-year-old Marcus Johnson raised his hand in Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom and said 5 words that would change everything, the entire room went silent. "Your Honor, that's my mom." What happened in the next 8 minutes would be viewed by over 40 million people worldwide. But to understand why this moment mattered so much, you need to know what brought this young boy and his mother to this courtroom on a cold Tuesday morning in Providence, and why Marcus had been carrying a secret that was slowly destroying him. This is Sarah Johnson, a 2-year-old single mother, working 2 jobs in Providence, Rhode Island. She was standing before Judge Caprio for something that seems minor on paper, driving with an expired registration and a broken taillight. The fine? $275. But this wasn't really about car violations. This was about a mother trying to hold her family together with nothing but duct tape and determination. And her 10-year-old son Marcus had been watching her struggle in ways no child should ever have to witness. Judge Caprio could see something in Marcus's eyes as the boy sat in the courtroom gallery, clutching a worn backpack. The judge had no idea that in a few moments, this child would teach everyone in that room what courage really looks like. 14 months before this court appearance, Sarah's husband, Marcus's father, was killed in a construction accident. No life insurance, no savings, just a mountain of medical debt from the 3 days he spent in ICU before he died. Sarah went from being a part-time dental receptionist to working 70-hour weeks almost overnight. Morning shift at a diner from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Evening shift cleaning office buildings from 6 p.m. to midnight. 4 hours of sleep. Repeat. Their 2004 Honda Civic became more than just a car. It was their lifeline. Sarah drove Marcus to school before her morning shift. She drove to both jobs. She drove to the food bank on Saturdays. When the registration renewal notice came with a $180 fee, Sarah made a choice that thousands of struggling parents make every day: food or paperwork. She chose food. The taillight had been broken for 6 months, shattered when someone backed into her in a parking lot and drove away. The repair quote was $120. That was Marcus's school supplies for the entire semester. So Sarah drove carefully, left early, took back roads, prayed she wouldn't get pulled over. But 3 weeks ago, on her way to her cleaning job, she ran a red light she swore was yellow. The police officer who pulled her over was professional but firm. Expired registration, broken taillight, failure to stop. 3 tickets totaling $275. Sarah took the tickets with shaking hands and said, "Thank you, officer." She cried the entire drive to work. What she didn't know was that Marcus had been watching her unravel for months. He'd seen her crying in the bathroom, with the water running so he wouldn't hear. He'd noticed how she only ate dinner 3 times a week and always said she wasn't hungry. He'd watched her count change at the grocery store, putting items back when she didn't have enough. Marcus was 10 years old, and he was watching his mother disappear. The morning of the court appearance, Marcus did something his mother would have never allowed if she'd known. He took $43 from his shoebox under his bed, every dollar he'd saved from birthday money, helping neighbors and collecting bottles for recycling over 2 years. He put it in an envelope and stuffed it in his backpack. Sarah had tried to look presentable. Her one good blazer from her old office job, now a bit loose because she'd lost weight. Marcus wore his school uniform khakis and a button-up shirt he'd ironed himself that morning while his mother was in the shower. "Baby, you don't have to come," Sarah had told him in the car. "You'll miss school." "I want to be there, Mom," Marcus said quietly. "You shouldn't be alone." Sarah reached over and squeezed his hand, fighting back tears. In the courtroom, Sarah stood before Judge Caprio, her hands clasped in front of her like she was praying. Marcus sat in the second row, his backpack on his lap, the envelope burning a hole in his consciousness. Judge Caprio looked at the paperwork, then at Sarah. "Mrs. Johnson," he began, his voice measured and kind. "I see here you have 3 violations: expired registration, broken taillight, and running a red light. That's $275 in fines. Can you tell me what happened?" Sarah's voice was barely above a whisper. I I know there's no excuse, Your Honor. The registration, I meant to renew it. I just didn't have the money at the time. And the taillight, someone hit my car. And her voice cracked. She stopped, took a breath. I'm sorry. I'll pay whatever I need to pay. I just need time. I'm working 2 jobs, and my husband passed away last year. And Judge Caprio raised his hand gently. Mrs. Johnson, slow down. I'm not here to make your life harder. I'm trying to understand your situation. You said your husband passed away? Yes, Your Honor. 14 months ago. I'm very sorry for your loss. The judge's expression softened. Are you raising children? 1 son. Marcus. He's 10. He's actually here today. She glanced back at Marcus, trying to smile. Judge Caprio followed her gaze and saw Marcus in the gallery, sitting up straight, his young face serious beyond his years. Marcus, the judge said, you came to support your mother today? Marcus nodded but didn't speak. His knuckles were white from gripping his backpack. Judge Caprio turned back to Sarah. Mrs. Johnson, I understand these have been difficult times, but I have to ask the red light you ran. You understand that's a safety issue. Not just a paperwork violation? I know, Your Honor. I thought it was still yellow. I swear I wasn't being careless. I would never. I have my son in the car most days. I would never put him at risk. The judge studied her face. I believe you, but the law is the law, Mrs. Johnson. These fines exist for a reason. The registration helps the state maintain infrastructure. The taillight is a safety issue. The red light, that's when it happened. Marcus stood up in the gallery. Your Honor? The courtroom went completely silent. Court officers looked at each other. Judge Caprio's eyebrows raised. Young man, this is your mother's hearing. You need to— Please, Marcus said, his voice stronger now. Please, Your Honor. Can I say something? It's important. Sarah turned around, her eyes wide with panic. Marcus, baby, sit down. It's okay. Judge Caprio held up his hand, intrigued now. Mrs. Johnson, it's all right. He looked at Marcus. Come up here, son. If you have something to say, let's hear it. Marcus walked to the front of the courtroom with his backpack, his steps small but determined. He stood next to his mother, who looked like she might faint. Judge Caprio leaned forward. What's your name, son? Marcus Anthony Johnson. Your Honor. That's a strong name. How old are you, Marcus? 10, sir. I'll be 11 in June. Okay, Marcus. What did you want to tell me? Marcus set his backpack on the floor and pulled out the envelope. His hands were shaking slightly, but his voice stayed steady. Your Honor, my mom didn't tell you everything because she doesn't like to complain, but I think you should know the truth. Sarah reached for his shoulder. Marcus, sweetie, you don't have to. Mom, please, Marcus said, looking up at her. They need to know. He turned back to Judge Caprio. My dad died last year. He was building a house and he fell. He was in the hospital for 3 days before he died. My mom was there the whole time. She didn't sleep. She didn't eat. She just held his hand and talked to him. The courtroom was absolutely silent. Judge Caprio's expression had shifted completely. When he died, Marcus continued, there were a lot of bills. The hospital bills were really big. We had to move to a smaller apartment. My mom sold her car and bought the Honda because it was cheap. She said it was temporary until things got better. Marcus's voice wavered, but he pushed on. She works 2 jobs now, every day. She makes me breakfast before school. Then she goes to work at a diner. She picks me up from school at 3:30, takes me home, makes sure I do my homework, and then she goes to her night job cleaning offices. She doesn't get home until after midnight. Sarah was crying now, silently, her hand over her mouth. She didn't renew the registration because she was choosing between that and buying me new shoes for school. My old ones had holes in them. She bought me the shoes. Judge Caprio's eyes were glistening. The taillight broke when someone hit our car in a parking lot and drove away. Mom called a repair shop, and they said $120. That was the same week she had to pay for my school field trip and my inhaler prescription. She chose the inhaler and the field trip because she said I shouldn't miss out on being a kid. Marcus reached into the envelope and pulled out crumpled bills and a handful of coins. I have $43, Your Honor. I've been saving it for 2 years. It's not enough for the whole fine, but it's a start. And I get $5 allowance when Mom has extra money, so I can pay more over time. And I'm 10 now, so in some states, I can get a work permit at 12. And his voice finally broke. Please don't punish my mom. She's doing everything she can. She's the best mom in the world. She's just tired and scared. And she shouldn't have to be, because she's doing everything right. The silence in the courtroom was deafening. Judge Caprio removed his glasses slowly and rubbed his eyes. When he looked up, there were tears on his face. Marcus, he said, his voice thick with emotion. Come here, son. Marcus walked closer to the bench. Judge Caprio leaned down so they were eye level. How long have you been carrying that money in your backpack? 3 weeks, Your Honor. Since I found out about court. And you were going to give me your entire savings? 2 years of saving? Marcus nodded. She's my mom, he said simply, as if that explained everything. And in a way, it did. Judge Caprio looked at Sarah, who was openly sobbing now, and then back at Marcus. Marcus, I want you to put that money back in your backpack. You're not giving me a single penny. But the fine, Judge Caprio said firmly, is dismissed. All of it. Your mother doesn't owe this court anything. A sound rippled through the courtroom, gasps, murmurs, someone crying in the back row. But, Your Honor, Sarah managed to say, the law? Judge Caprio held up his hand. Mrs. Johnson, let me explain something to you and everyone in this courtroom. Yes, you drove with an expired registration. Yes, your taillight was broken. Yes, you may have run a red light. But I'm not here to punish poverty. I'm here to administer justice. And there is nothing just about adding a $275 burden to a woman who is already carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders. He turned to address the entire courtroom. Do you all see this young man? This is what courage looks like. This is what love looks like. He came here today, prepared to give up everything he had to protect his mother. That's not something you can teach. That's character. That's integrity. Judge Caprio looked back at Marcus. Your father would be incredibly proud of you, son. And I want you to know something. You didn't fail him. You're honoring his memory by being the man of your house at 10 years old. But you're still a child, Marcus. You shouldn't have to be this strong. You should be worried about homework and video games and what you're going to be for Halloween. Marcus was crying now, too. I just want my mom to smile again, Your Honor. She used to smile all the time before Dad died. Now she only smiles when she looks at me, and I can tell she's faking it. Sarah pulled Marcus into a hug, both of them shaking with sobs. Judge Caprio wasn't finished. Mrs. Johnson, look at me, please. Sarah looked up, her face streaked with tears. I'm not just dismissing these fines. I'm going to do something else. He pulled out his personal checkbook, something he rarely did, something not covered by any official court budget. This is from me personally, not from the court. I'm writing you a check for $500. I want you to get that registration renewed immediately. Fix that tail light. And whatever's left over, I want you to take Marcus somewhere special. Maybe that means dinner at his favorite restaurant. Maybe that means a movie. I don't care what it is. But I want you two to have one day where you don't worry about money. The courtroom erupted in applause. People were standing. Several spectators were crying openly. Sarah shook her head in disbelief. Your Honor, I can't accept that. You've already. You can and you will, Judge Caprio said firmly, but kindly. Mrs. Johnson, I've been a judge for many years. I've seen thousands of cases. But what I saw today was a family that represents the best of what we can be. A mother sacrificing everything for her child. A child willing to sacrifice everything for his mother. That deserves recognition. That deserves help. He came down from the bench, something judges rarely do, and walked over to Marcus. "Young man, I want you to promise me something." "Yes, Your Honor." "Keep that $43. Save it. Add to it when you can. And someday, when you're grown and successful, and you will be successful, Marcus, I can see it in you. I want you to help someone else the way you tried to help your mother today. That's how we change the world. One act of kindness at a time." Marcus nodded, unable to speak. Judge Caprio handed Sarah the check, then shook both of their hands. "And Mrs. Johnson, I want you to remember something. You are not alone. There are people in this community who care. If you need resources, food assistance, job placement services, anything, my clerk will give you a list before you leave. There is no shame in asking for help. You understand me?" "Yes, Your Honor," Sarah whispered. "Thank you. I don't know how to thank you." "Thank me by taking care of yourself so you can keep taking care of that incredible young man. He needs his mother, and from what I can see, you're exactly the mother he needs." As Sarah and Marcus turned to leave, the entire courtroom stood in applause. Court officers, lawyers, spectators, everyone was clapping. Some were still crying. Marcus looked back at Judge Caprio one last time and mouthed two words, "Thank you." The judge nodded, wiping his own eyes. The video of Marcus's testimony went viral within 24 hours. 40 million views in the first week. News outlets from CNN to BBC covered the story. But more importantly, something extraordinary happened. A local car dealership saw the story and contacted Sarah. They offered her a 2018 Honda CR-V, fully serviced, with 2 years of free maintenance. "No mother should have to choose between safety and survival," the owner said. A Providence law firm established a scholarship fund in Marcus's name, $50,000 set aside for his college education, with additional donations pouring in from around the world. The fund reached $200,000 within a month. Sarah's dental office, where she'd worked part-time, saw the video. They offered her a full-time position as office manager with benefits and a salary that would allow her to quit her cleaning job. She accepted. But perhaps the most touching response came from an unexpected source. Marcus's elementary school started a program called Courage Club, where students nominated classmates who showed bravery in difficult circumstances. Marcus was the first recipient. 50 other students joined in the first year, creating a culture of recognizing and supporting kids facing hardship. 3 months after the court appearance, Sarah and Marcus returned to Judge Caprio's courtroom not for a violation, but for a special ceremony. The judge had arranged for Marcus to receive a Youth Courage Award from the Rhode Island Community Foundation. At the ceremony, Marcus spoke briefly. "I didn't think I was being brave. I just love my mom. But if sharing our story helped other people, then I'm glad it happened. My dad used to say that family means you never let each other fall. I was just trying to catch my mom the way she's been catching me my whole life." There wasn't a dry eye in the courtroom. Sarah also spoke, her voice stronger now, more hopeful. 14 months ago, I lost my husband, and I thought I'd lost everything. I was drowning, and I couldn't see a way out. But then my 10-year-old son reminded me what my husband always knew, that we're stronger together than we ever could be apart. And Judge Caprio reminded me that there are still good people in this world who see us, really see us. Not as cases or statistics, but as human beings doing our best. She paused, looking at the judge. "You gave us more than money that day, Your Honor. You gave us hope. You gave my son his childhood back. You gave me permission to believe things could get better. And they have. They really have." This case became a turning point in conversations about judicial discretion and economic justice. Legal scholars studied it. Social workers referenced it. Politicians debated it. Judge Caprio received both praise and criticism. Some argued that dismissing fines based on hardship created a dangerous precedent. Others argued that this was exactly what compassionate justice should look like, judges using their authority to recognize the difference between malicious lawbreaking and poverty-induced violation. The judge addressed the controversy directly in an interview. People ask me if I'm worried about setting a precedent. My answer is yes, I hope I am. I hope I'm setting a precedent that says our justice system can see the difference between a wealthy person who doesn't respect the law and a struggling person who's trying to survive. Marcus didn't need to defend his mother that day. The facts spoke for themselves. But he did it anyway because he loves her. That's the world I want to live in. One where a 10-year-old can stand up for his mother and a judge can recognize that courage deserves support, not punishment. The case also sparked a movement. Several municipalities across the country created hardship review boards where low-income defendants could have fines reduced or dismissed based on financial circumstances. Providence itself established a community service alternative program, allowing people to work off fines through volunteering rather than paying cash they don't have. But perhaps the most profound impact was personal, not systemic. Marcus is now 14 years old. He maintained straight A's through middle school and is active in his community. He volunteers at the food bank where his mother once stood in line. He mentors younger kids whose parents are struggling. When asked why he gives so much of his time, he says, "Judge Caprio taught me that when you have something, even if it's not money, even if it's just your time or your voice, you should use it to help people. I had a voice that day in court. I used it for my mom. Now, I try to use it for other people who need someone to speak up for them." Sarah completed her degree in social work, something she'd started before her husband died but couldn't finish. She now works as a family advocate, helping other single parents navigate the systems of assistance she once struggled to understand. She says Marcus inspired her career change. "Watching my son stand up for me made me realize I could stand up for others. We've been through the struggle. We know what it feels like to choose between medicine and food, between rent and car repairs. I want to be for other families what Judge Caprio was for us, someone who sees them, helps them, and reminds them they're not alone." This story resonates because it's not really about parking tickets or courtrooms or even one judge's kindness. It's about something much deeper. It's about the invisible struggles that millions of families face every single day. The single parents working multiple jobs, choosing between impossible options, trying to hold everything together with sheer willpower and love. It's about children who grow up too fast because they have to. Kids who see their parents suffering and feel powerless to help. Marcus had $43 and no legal standing in that courtroom, but he had courage, and sometimes courage is enough. It's about a justice system that too often punishes poverty while claiming to be blind and fair. Judge Caprio proved that day that justice doesn't have to be blind to circumstance. It can be wise. It can be compassionate. It can recognize when punishment would only create more suffering without creating more safety. But most fundamentally, this story is about love. A mother's love that works 70-hour weeks and skips meals so her child can eat. A son's love that offers every penny he has to protect his mother. A judge's love for humanity that goes beyond the bench to write a personal check for strangers. The ancient Greeks had different words for different types of love. There was eros, romantic love, philia, friendship love, and agape, unconditional, selfless love. The kind of love that gives without expecting return. The kind of love that puts others first. The kind of love that Marcus showed when he stood up in that courtroom. That's the love that changes the world. Stories like Marcus and Sarah's are happening right now in courtrooms, living rooms, and communities across the world. People are struggling silently. Children are being brave in ways they shouldn't have to be. And occasionally, if we're lucky, someone like Judge Caprio reminds us what compassion looks like in action. If this story moved you, I want you to do 3 things. First, subscribe to All Rise. We share stories of justice, compassion, and humanity from courtrooms around the world. Stories that remind us that our legal system can be about more than punishment, it can be about understanding and help. Second, Share this video, not for views or algorithms, but because someone in your life needs to see this. Maybe they're a single parent barely holding on. Maybe they're a kid who feels powerless. Maybe they're someone who's forgotten that good people still exist. Send this to them. Let them know they're not alone. Third, and this is the most important one, be a Judge Caprio in someone's life this week. You don't need to be a judge. You don't need to write a check. You just need to see someone who's struggling and choose compassion over judgment. Maybe it's the single mom in line at the grocery store, counting change. Maybe it's the student working 3 jobs to pay tuition. Maybe it's your own parent or sibling who's been too proud to ask for help. See them, really see them, and help if you can. Marcus was 10 years old with $43, and he tried to change his mother's world. Imagine what we could do if we all had that kind of courage. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever witnessed or experienced a moment of unexpected compassion that changed everything? Or tell me about someone in your life who's being Marcus-level brave right now. Let's use this comment section to recognize and celebrate the everyday heroes around us. Thank you for watching All Rise. Remember, justice isn't just about the law. It's about seeing each other's humanity and choosing kindness when we have the power to do so. Marcus chose kindness at 10 years old. Judge Caprio chose kindness from the bench. Sarah chose kindness even while drowning. What will you choose today? Subscribe to All Rise, with Marcus and Sarah smiling together in current day, followed by Every Story Matters, Every Voice Counts.